The rancher liked quiet work. He liked the slow sound of wind on the high plain of Caldera 6. He liked the way the sky grazer herd drifted like big, calm clouds. He liked the way the wind well turned and clicked and sent clean air into his storage tanks. He did not complain. He did not rush. He worked with steady hands and he smiled with steady eyes. People in town called him the rancher, and that was enough for him. That morning the air felt light and cool. The sun rose like a copper coin above the canyon. The rancher checked the herd. He patted a calf. He fixed a fence hinge with a wire twist and a gentle push. Then he climbed to the canyon rim to service the wind well. Its vane had a small crack. It wobbled when it turned. He could hear it, even over the wind. Click, click, click. He took out a small case. Inside lay a spare bolt, a patch of resin, a simple wrench, and a roll of tape. He hummed to himself while he worked. The wind pushed his sleeve. He laughed at it and said, "Hold still." The wind did not listen, but he kept working anyway. Then the ground trembled. It was not loud and it did not last long. It felt like a silent cough under the earth. Pebbles hopped. Dust drifted off the rim. The rancher froze. He looked at his feet. He looked at the crack that ran like a thin smile along the edge of the cliff. He had seen small quakes before. Caldera 6 was a living world. It stretched. It sighed. It moved. The tremble stopped. He breathed out. He went back to work. He set the bolt. He smoothed the resin. He tapped the patch with the wrench head to help it settle. He was almost done when the second tremor came. This one was a little longer. The click of the wind well turned into a wobble and then into a short, sharp jerk. The rancher reached for the mast to steady himself. His boot slid on loose grit. His other foot found nothing but air. He grabbed for the rim with his free hand. His fingers brushed the rock. Then the edge broke away in a brittle line. He fell. He did not scream. The breath jumped from his chest. The sky spun. The canyon walls rose on both sides like dark rails. The world shrank to the rush of wind and the beat of his heart. He thought very simply that the story of his life would end with a poor step and a broken edge. But the forest below did not agree. He dropped through a net of soft, wide leaves. They were not hanging there by chance. They were growing from a frame shaped like a shallow bowl, set out from the face of the cliff. He hit that green bowl and slid down its curve. He rolled over moss that glowed with a pale blue light, like dusk in winter. He slowed. He bounced once. He landed in a bed of ferns that held him like 1,000 gentle hands. For a long time he did not move. He stared up at the rim. A ribbon of dust fell and shivered in the light. He took a small breath. He let it out. Shapes moved in the shadows. He lifted his head. At first he thought he saw deer, because they moved with care and grace. Then he saw arms and faces and eyes that watched him in silence. They wore cloaks made of layered leaves and thin strands that looked like vines turned to cloth. Their hair was braided with seed beads that glowed a little. Their tools did not shine like metal. They shone like living wood and smooth shell. The closest figure held up a hand. The palm was painted with a swirl of soft green. The meaning felt simple. Be calm. The rancher was calm. He was also sore. He tried to sit. The figure stepped closer and showed him a sling made of woven fiber. They slipped it behind his shoulders with gentle care. Another figure lifted his legs. They did not speak. They did not hurry. They carried him across a floor of damp earth and leaf litter and light. The forest felt alive in a way the high plain never did. It did not rush him. It did not ask him to be more than he was. It spread its cool breath under the trees and lit the ground with quiet blue moss. The figures took him to a hollow under the roots of a great tree. The root arch made a roof like a big wooden ribcage. Lanterns hung from the roots. They were seed pods full of firefly light. They laid him on a bed made from soft bark and warm leaves. Someone touched his ankle. He flinched, but it did not hurt. The touch was light. The person had a small frame, quick hands, and a kind face. They pressed a poultice to his ankle. It smelled like mint and rain. The pain cooled. The rancher let out a breath he had been holding. "Thank you," he said. The figures listened to his voice. They did not repeat the word, but they seemed to understand the tone. The kind-faced one nodded. The one with the green swirl on the palm drew a small shape in the air, a circle with a tick. Yes. It looked like yes. He looked at their tools again. The bowl that had caught him had a pattern like veins. The sling felt like a living weave. The lantern seeds pulsed like slow hearts. These people had grown their tools. They had guided plants and fungi and roots into shapes that served them. He had never seen work like this. It felt careful. It felt patient. It felt like his own way, only deeper and older. Later, when the pain eased and he could sit, the rancher took a small device from the pocket of his vest. It was a spare ear tag for the herd. A tag like that sent a low signal so he could find a stray calf. The device was simple. It had one button. If he pressed it, the tag made a tiny pulse. He turned the tag over in his hand. He looked at the lantern seeds. He wondered if the light could answer a pulse. He pressed the button. Nothing changed. He pressed again. Still nothing. He pressed a third time. Slowly. Pulse. Pause. Pulse. A vine near the lantern seed moved. It was small and thin. It touched the seed, and then curled away. The seed brightened in a rhythm that matched his presses. Pulse. Pause. Pulse. The rancher smiled. He pointed to the seed. He pressed the button again. Pulse. Pulse. The seed brightened twice. The kindly person with quick hands watched his face, then the seed, then the device. They lifted a leaf and laid it on the vine. The leaf had lines like a hand. The lines darkened and lightened with the seed. The rancher pressed once for yes. The seed brightened once. He pointed at himself. He pressed once. He pointed at the kind-faced person. He pressed twice. The seed brightened twice. The person tapped their chest with 2 fingers. Then they pointed to the rancher and held up 1 finger. 1, 2, 1, 2. A simple language began to grow, as simple and clean as a tap of a nail on a post. By afternoon, they could share basic ideas. The rancher pointed to the cliff and pressed 3 pulses, then made a falling motion with his hand. The seed lit 3 times. The kind-faced person nodded and drew a long curve in the air, then a bowl shape, then a soft landing hand. Save. Help. Safe. The person with the green swirl returned with a flat piece of bark. On it, a map had grown. It was not ink. It was a thin fungus in pale lines. The lines showed the canyon, the river, and the forest network. The rancher touched the line for the canyon. It trembled a little under his finger as if it woke. He pointed to the cracked rim where he had fallen. The line near that place pulsed with a slow glow. The green swirl person pressed 2 fingers near the glow. Then they pointed to a set of circles under the trees. The circles were nodes like little hearts of the map. The rancher looked up. "You watch the forest," he said softly. "You keep it in good health." The others could not understand his words, but they understood his face. They nodded. The green swirl person made a sign. 2 hands held near the chest, then opened like a flower. Care. He thought of the morning tremor. He thought of the long click of the wind well. He thought of the way the ground felt under his boots. He pointed to the map again. He pressed the ear tag button twice, and then he made a wavy motion with his hand like a soft wave. Tremor. The seed lantern answered with 2 slow pulses. The green swirl person looked thoughtful. They drew a ring around a part of the map that held many small squares. That was the valley town. That was where the pumps and the wells and the mills were. The rancher frowned in a gentle way. He did not like to rush to blame. He set the tag on the bed of bark and touched 1 square, then overlaid another square, and made a fast, sharp tapping on the tag. Tap, 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 tap. The seed lantern flickered fast, and the map line near the town brightened and shook in tiny waves. The quick-handed person watched. They took a small tool and scraped a symbol near the town. The symbol looked like a jagged ray, noise. They showed him another symbol. It was a smooth, slow spiral. The rancher pressed the tag in a long, calm rhythm. The seed matched him. The map brightened near the forest nodes. He understood. The forest liked slow signals. The town and the ranches made fast signals. Fast signals upset the network. The tremors were like a frown from the earth. He sat very still. He felt the weight of this new knowledge. His herd needed clean air. His neighbors needed power and pumps. The forest needed calm. He looked at the people who had saved his life. He looked at their grown tools and their soft lights and their kind eyes. He thought about fairness. He thought about respect. He pointed to himself. 1. He pressed the tag once. Yes. Then he pointed to the forest symbol. He pressed once again. Yes. Then he pointed to the town squares and held up his palm flat. Wait. The seed lantern dimmed to a soft glow. The quick-handed person smiled. The green swirl person placed a hand over their heart in thanks. Evening came. The great tree above them hummed with wind. The forest lit itself like a quiet city. Little sparks moved in the air. The rancher felt calm. He also felt a new kind of work begin inside him. He slept and dreamed of slow rhythms and steady hands. Dawn came pale and soft, like a clean sheet of light over the canyon rim. The rancher stood under the roots of the great tree. The map on the bark showed a moving mark, steady and sure, like a drumbeat. The green sentinel was near the first fence line of the valley. The rancher held the living loop in both hands. It felt warm, as if it had a slow heart inside it. The elder with the green swirl on the palm stood beside him. Their eyes were kind and calm. The quick-handed healer checked the rancher's ankle. They pressed a cool leaf wrap in place. The apprentice stood close too. The apprentice was young and bright, with small seed lights braided into their hair. They watched the loop like it was a teacher. All three forest people looked at the rancher with hope and trust. He set a pulse in the loop. Long pause. Long pause, short, short, long. The loop remembered it. The rhythm traveled along its fibers. The seed lantern by the map answered with the same calm glow. The elder nodded. The apprentice smiled and copied the beat on a thin vine with 2 fingers. The vine hummed. The map mark flickered as if the guardian had heard a distant voice. They left the root hall and stepped into the waking forest. Morning wind moved through tall leaves. Blue moss went dim under the brighter sky. The rancher walked with care. The loop hung over his shoulder like a soft rope. The apprentice carried a small bag of sprouts and tools. The elder led the way, placing feet in a path so old it felt new again. They reached a rise of ground where ferns grew thick. From there, the valley opened like a wide palm. The ranch fences made quiet lines of wood and stone. The windwells turned like sleepy eyes. Herders moved like dots, not yet aware of the giant that was coming. The rancher loved this plain. He loved the slow life on it. He wanted it to stay gentle. A sound like a tree breathing rolled through the air. Leaves trembled. The rancher looked to the left and saw it. The green sentinel stepped out from behind a stand of tall trees. It was not a machine. It was not a person. It was a living shape made from root and trunk and woven branch. It stood taller than any house but moved with care. Sunlight drew soft lines on its bark. Its steps pressed the earth like a patient drum. The apprentice gasped, not in fear but in awe. The elder placed a hand on the rancher's shoulder. Then they stepped back. It was his turn. He took a breath and lifted the loop. He set the slow pattern again. Long, pause, long, pause, short, short, long. He walked forward 5 careful steps, then stopped. He did not wave his arms. He did not shout. He kept his body quiet. He let the loop speak for him. The guardian turned its head. Or rather, the upper crown of woven branches leaned his way, like a tall friend listening. A shimmer ran along a line of root that trailed from its heel into the soil. It answered with a slow bend, almost like a bow. The rancher felt a small, clean joy. He stepped sideways and pulsed a new beat. Short, short, pause, long. The loop warmed, as if it liked the work. He took 3 steps toward the safe corridor, the one he had shown on the map near the wide part of the river. The guardian followed. Its steps were soft. Small flowers tilted up and then settled. No fence shook. No stone cracked. The path began. Behind him, the apprentice set tiny markers at the edge of the path. The markers were little cups of living fiber. Each cup held a seed light. The lights blinked in time with the loop beat. The elder spread thin roots at intervals, so the guardian could feel the pattern with every step. The forest and the human walked together. Halfway down the slope, two figures appeared at the edge of the field road. They wore plain valley jackets and carried no tools in their hands. One wore a cloth band of white on their arm to show calm will. The rancher knew them both. They were his friends from town, Mira and Joe. They must have seen the tremor dust and followed the canyon signs to the forest edge. Their faces were tense with worry, but when they saw the rancher alive, their shoulders dropped in relief. Mira raised both hands, palms out, in a simple greeting. Joe pointed to the wind well on the ridge and then showed a fast fluttering hand sign. Noise. The wind had picked up. That well was wobbling again. The fast click could bother the guardian. The rancher nodded once. He motioned with the loop for them to wait at the field turn and then pressed a quiet beat. Long. Pause. Long. He kept walking, guiding the tall figure around a stand of berry bushes and toward the river. The guardian followed the rhythm like a patient draft animal follows a hand on a rein. It turned where the rancher turned. It stopped when the rancher held the beat still. The earth under its feet did not shake. The rancher smiled at the good sign. Then from the ridge, the wind well made a sharp, quick clack. The guardian paused. Its woven crown tilted. The line of root behind it went tense like a plucked string. The rancher felt a small fear. Not fear of harm, but fear of breaking trust. He held the loop steady. He gave the calm pattern again and again. The guardian listened, but the fast clack came again, and again like a pebble thrown into a still pond. He turned to Mira and Joe and pointed up. He touched his chest, then held his hands apart, then closed them like taking a thing apart. Dismantle. Joe understood first. They nodded and ran up the slope toward the windwell. Mira stayed with the rancher. She looked at the towering shape and breathed in slow and out slow, because she had seen animals calm down when people breathed like that. It worked on her heart too. The rancher made a choice. He would not ask Joe to do it alone. He gave Mira the loop for a moment. He pressed her hand to the warm fiber, set the bead in her palm, and looked into her eyes with trust. She nodded and stood where he had stood. The guardian watched her now, and the loop sang the same simple song. The rancher climbed the slope, his ankle steady enough. He reached the windwell. Joe had already locked the vane, but the crack from yesterday had opened. The vane leaned and tapped the mast. Tap, tap, tap. A quick, bright sound. He opened his small case. No metal hammer, no harsh tool. He took the resin patch and the tape and his simple wrench. He spoke to the well as if it could hear. Hush now, he said. We need you to be gentle. They wrapped the crack and set a leaf cushion under the brace so the vane would not join the mast with a sharp sound. The wind turned the blades, and now the well made only a soft hush like breath through grass. The rancher listened. He heard no tap. He looked down the slope. Mira stood firm, loop in hand. The apprentice had joined her and tapped a matching beat on the vine. The elder stood a little way off and rested a palm on the ground. The guardian's crown had relaxed. It bent toward the loop. It stepped again, careful and calm. The path was taken up once more. The rancher and Joe hurried back down. He took the loop from Mira and thanked her with a smile. Then he set a new pattern. Long, long, short, pause, long, short. This was a pattern from an old ranch lullaby, a song used at night, when wind made the barn doors clack and calves needed comfort. The green sentinel paused as if it tasted a memory it did not know it had. Then it moved in that rhythm too, like a tall tree swaying in a song. They reached the river bend. The ground there was strong and open. The river made a wide mirror. The rancher walked to a smooth stone and stopped. He held the loop steady, then lifted it slow and brought it down slow like a signal flag. The guardian came to a full stop. Its roots spread softly. Its crown turned to the river, then to the fields, then back to the rancher. The elder stepped forward and placed both palms on the ground. Thin roots rose and touched the guardian's heel. The forest spoke to itself. A soft wave rolled through the soil like the world taking a deep breath. The elder closed their eyes. The apprentice held still. The rancher stood quiet with the loop. The seed lanterns and the markers blinked in a calm series. In the distance, wind wells turned without clicks. Herders slowed their steps and stared, but no one shouted. No one ran. No one threw stones or words or hands. It was a moment held open by trust. The elder opened their eyes. They traced a circle over the river bend on a new map panel and marked it with a symbol, a spiral wrapped in a gentle line. The rancher had not seen this exact one before, but he understood. It meant a quiet craft zone. It meant a place where human tools and forest senses could share space. Mira took a field scarf from her pocket. It was simple cloth, white with a blue edge. She tied it to a small stick and planted it at the edge of the path. Joe took off a metal cuff and wrapped it in cloth too, then placed it under a flat stone. Others in the valley would see and copy and care. The rancher looked back up the slope. In his mind, he saw the whole valley. He saw the fast lines that had upset the forest, sharp hinges, bare metal braces, pumps with hard clacks. He also saw easy fixes, leaf cushions, fiber sleeves, slow pulse beacons instead of bright strobe flags. He saw things they could change with hands and patience, not with force. He set another rhythm and led the guardian across a second field, where the grass grew short and sweet. He guided it around a fence corner, then by a row of sleeping machines covered with tarps. The loop hummed. He thought of the small trade-offs to come. He would take down his old noisy booster on the barn. He would show his neighbors how to swap hard couplings for soft ones. He would set his pumps to slower cycles at night so the forest could dream in peace. The day moved on and grew warm. The guardian made a final turn into a broad grove. It settled there like a ship in harbor.